So I was actually in a small group briefly, an accountability group of other service cleaning businesses, and they had these tasks that they were trying to get done. It would be something like an employee handbook or something like that. And week after week, they would miss their goal. Week after week, they're still making up excuses why it's not done.
Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? Hey everybody, welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. Josh here, how the heck are you? It's already Tuesday. This week is going to roll by, suckers. I just said suckers on my podcast. That's okay.
Yes, we'll edit it out.
Yeah, well, hey, Derek, they're not supposed to know you're here yet. I didn't introduce you.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, man. Okay, well, the surprise is ruined. We have a live webinar tonight, which is super exciting for our upcoming sales and marketing super course. And we have all of our super special secret Cool Kids Club on the live webinar. It's just a small group of our SendGym users that have really participated in the course creation process, which is awesome because that's what Russell Brunson told me to do with this project. Anyway, I don't want to confuse all the listeners. The point is that me and Derek are going to be up late tonight, so I decided to bring him on the podcast so we could talk about something that's directly relevant to you guys, but from a different angle, right? So you hear me say a lot that all the architectures of service company is the same, right? You got your sales, your service, your operations, kind of the nuts and bolts of it is similar. And actually, believe it or not, it's kind of similar with our software company, right? And we go through the same types of pain and suffering and struggles and fears that anybody with any business would go through. And as we've grown a lot this last year and we're looking to like 10x this year, I wanted to bring Derek on because he's in charge of a lot of really important stuff for us and just kind of talk about his background and kind of where he came from and I don't know, get his thoughts on our journey and the team that we've expanded and how it can relate to our listeners. So my good buddy, Derreck Smallwood, what's your job title at this point at SendGym? Are you like Chief Operations Officer? Are you COO? Are you CMO?
I think it's like all of the above. It's probably mostly COO though. Yeah. But yeah, so it's been an exciting first part of the year already, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride and kind of stressful, honestly. I mean, I have a new location here up in Ludington. We have an office. We're calling it SendGym North to make it like a second location because we have another office on the other side of the state. You are down in Arkansas. Our team is remote, most of them, but we do have a couple offices, and getting that together has been tricky. And then we've hired a bunch of people.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest struggles that or one of the many that we've had to overcome, is how do you take all these experts from around the, country and world oftentimes and collaborate in an effective way, because hands down, one-on-one typically is better. But a lot of times there's just not the talent in your local area to be able to work with a good team. And when you're out looking for these rock stars, sometimes you just have these challenges. And a lot of times in especially service business, I found that, yes, I did need to have the local talent for the local technicians to go out and do the houses, but I really needed some people helping me with my marketing online, or a VA or something online that could take a lot of pressure off of the processes that I had that was just dragging me down every day from running my cleaning company. And so I think a lot of times people just settle for somebody, just like maybe an aunt or an uncle or a best friend to come and work in the office with them because they, don't really have any other options. And yes, these are just simple tasks that they should be able to do that right. But at the end of the day, they're frustrated because they're having to show them how to run a CRM or how to, send out an email campaign or something simple or fairly simple that an online VA could do. And I think that's one of the struggles that we've done really well at overcoming over the past couple of years, is being able to take some really, really talented people and be able to structure our systems to where the workflow doesn't suffer and our productivity and momentum doesn't suffer from trying to have massive scale. As a matter of fact, other companies are starting to do this. This is a big trend in online digital spaces, especially, not so much for local businesses, but these companies are even like GitHub, for example. All their employees, I think except for 100 out of I think it was several hundred that they had before, were told that they could work from home. And so these companies are, starting to implement these things. It's cutting cost. It's allowing them to maximize profit margins. And yes, all these things do play a part into your customer acquisition cost, and it does play into your ROI and your profit margins. So I think it's certainly one thing that was key in us in our growth, especially having to learn what we needed to do to put our best foot forward and serve, your audience and your viewers at a high level.
Yeah, well, that I think this is like a little secret little thing that service companies could look at. So I know some people that have like maybe a hard time finding really good technicians to work for them are like nodding their head saying, man, I wish I could find somebody online to be my technician in a different country. But obviously you can't do that. But what about the operational back end of your business, the admin side, the phones, the paperwork, the bookkeeping, the payroll, the email campaigns, data entry, marketing, data mining? There's lots of little things that can be done. We actually have a VA that's so awesome that we've had for 2 years, I believe now. Her name is Shang. She's from the Philippines. She's more educated than I am. I think she has a master's degree. She's super, super good. You do have to structure, specific tasks and make sure that she understands how to do it. But she just gets it done, and it's way inexpensive because the cost of living over there is so much less. So I think there is opportunity for people to do that, Derek. And you agree, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And if for anybody listening that's trying to, maybe they're considering doing something like that, definitely really pre-vet them with asking them things about, how they, communicate with you and what time would be a best time for you guys to set up regular meetings, because especially when you're working with online people that are in a different time zone, it becomes a huge factor in your productivity through the day if you have to stay up until midnight just to talk to them. And then if the language barrier prevents you from explaining what your goals and objectives are, that's going to hinder your process as well. So you can spend as few dollars as $3 an hour all the way up to $15 an hour for a virtual assistant. And a lot of that money you spend is going to get you those kinds of things too. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's really good advice. And the language barrier can be real. I mean, I've worked with people in China and India and all over the place over the last few years. And but anyway, there's a good little nugget for you.
Well, let me talk. You want me to talk a little bit about how we've kind of structured some of our team collaboration?
Yeah, sure. I was going to pivot into some of the operational systems, some of the things that we use on our back end that just mainly the stuff that could be applicable to service companies, like Trello and Pipedrive and some of the new things that you're implementing in our business right now. Mm-hmm.
So I was actually in a small group briefly, an accountability group of other service cleaning businesses, and they had these tasks that they were trying to get done. And it would be something like an employee handbook or something like that. And week after week, they would miss their goal. Week after week, they're still making up excuses why it's not done. And a lot of times it's just because they're trying to bite off too much at once with this project. And this happens in all kinds of scenarios, not just an employee handbook. So what I like to do is to start breaking down the overall objective into sub-tasks that can be delegated out or you can work on in small chunks of your time. If you really examine your time per day that you actually have to commit to something, it actually is probably less than you think. And so these subtasks can be divided into what's called a Scrum. And a Scrum board is just in layman terms, it's you have a task on the left and it needs to get to the right to be complete. And so you have planning or incoming projects. Then the next column over would be something like ready or building. The next column over would be stalled or past due. And then the next column over would be complete. And by doing this allowed me to quickly at a glance see where my team was, or even if I'm a one-man show, I can quickly log into Trello or a similar service like that to be able to quickly start, completing those tasks and working on the small sections. So in an employee handbook, you might have something like pay structure that's part of that employee handbook. Well, that would be its own small little project that you would get done. And at the end, after all this is completed, you simply assemble the parts. It's ready to go. It goes over to a designer if it's something that's for public facing, and then get it branded and looking great. So Trello is one way that we've been able to do things. Now, our team has expanded, and so with Trello, it had its limitations, and we had to find other alternatives. One cool thing that some other service companies is, I was surprised that they actually was interested, but I use this service called Slack to where we collaborate with our team, and it's much like Skype, but we can add apps and integrations. So even like if you sell a responsive bid deal, a new job, you can have that to where it can auto post into a channel into Slack, and so your team can immediately see that they've got a new deal. Say you have a sales team or something like that, they can see that they've got a new lead, and they can immediately pivot and start to close those deals. And I've implemented.
I just want to make sure people's heads don't explode. There's so much stuff in Derreck's brain. I know as everybody's listening, they're like, "Holy crap, this guy's smart." And guess what? You're right. That's why I freaking headhunted him and made him come work with us. But to give you some background on Derreck, he was a valedictorian of his high school. He's super smart. He has a computer programming degree, but he wound up being in the cleaning business down in Arkansas, and he had a cleaning company. And years ago, he had bought my first information product, my ebook, Window Wealth, which really isn't available anymore. But he had bought that, and he was starting to grow his business, and we struck up a relationship and stuff. But his real talent lies in what we call being an integrator. And when we started working together on Automate, Grow, Sell, we didn't know each other deeply. I saw talent in Derreck big time, very, very quickly. And so I wanted to kind of align myself with him for whatever could come out of it in the future. But as our relationship evolved, he's really fell into a really important role for our company. And this applies to you, right? You want to have a team around you that are good at things that you're not good at. And what I'm not good at is being hyper organized, doing to-do lists, task management, stuff like that. I mean, it's a nightmare for me. And I'm the visionary, crazy guy that has these big plans, and Derreck is the kind of guy that can implement it and break it down and delegate it to a team and make sure that it crosses the finish line. Like, for example, with this super course, this is a major endeavor. It's a major undertaking. I have, dozens of other high-level teachers and instructors involved, coordinating, doing live webinars with them. We have people on there, making sure that the content is over the top, wicked, crazy value. Then we have to put together the sales side and all the web pages and that. And the reason this applies to your service company is you need to look at the people around you and make sure that your core team, the nucleus of your team, if you do want to scale your business, make sure that they're the right people, that you have the right butts on the bus, right? The right seats, the right people in the right seats on the bus. Man, my brain is not working today, Derreck. But it's critical. It makes a huge difference. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I wanted to speak to the integrator visionary thing. And I also wanted to speak to the power of overwhelm. So for me, when I do tasks like that, like if I'm going to write an employee handbook, for example, it's like literally the worst thing on the planet for me. Now, I would muscle through stuff, but I would operate highly based on emotion rather than just being very organized and doing what Derreck said. And maybe some of you feel like that too. If that's the case, take his advice on the Scrum board and using simple tools, breaking it down to bite-sized chunks, or start headhunting and find someone who is that integrator type personality. Can you speak to what it means to be an integrator and kind of how your talents are helping us grow Send Jim so big?
Yeah, so my talent is actually working with you to siphon all those ideas that you have. You have like 900 ideas a day, and to actually determine if any of those is going to move the ball down the field for us. If it's something that's going to generate any kind of ROI, if it's going to derail our team to where it's not at the same pace as where we need to be, or if your ideas possibly just need to be pinned for a future build with other projects that are similar. So oftentimes you basically just have a lot of that, and that's one big part of an integrator for a visionary. For instance, you can just send a video I think you do this all the time where you see something that's interesting and you even just like the app we looked at today. And so you're like, hey, I think we need this. And then I watch it, and then, from your hands off at that point, which is pretty cool. I just get it. I buy it. I set it up. It's done, and the whole team is on board with implementing any kind of strategy that needs to happen. For instance, we're putting together our 2018 social media strategy, and we're in the inner circle, and so we've gotten a bit of advice from some really, really smart people and talented in there. And so it was a matter of watching several videos and really laying that out and kind of seeing how it fits our current model and our goals and everything, and to pick apart the best parts of those and to start implementing immediately. I try to stay away from like taking off more than we can bite at once and just implement sections or phases of that whole plan over several months, but on a deadline. It's important that you set due dates and execute on those plans, and and that's a good way to look at it.
And that's really, 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 really good. This is a great point for me to make sure everybody understands that we really have no idea what we're doing, right? But we have talented people on the team. And so part of our plan this year, because I'm doing a podcast every single day, I'm doing a vlog, which is more on my personal side of my life and all that, kind of like for people that want to follow our journey and stuff. And then I'm going to do this weekly Facebook TV show thing here in a few weeks once I get that set up. And so for me to be creative, which is my highest and best use of my time, is creating content, learning how to break down complex ideas and deliver value to the listeners and to our potential customers. For me to do that effectively, I had to break away. And so we made some hires. We hired Louie from Texas, who's going to be handling, this major division of our company that's brand new called our partners division. It's not just the certified partners that are like our affiliates, but it's all these other things. I won't get into it. And then we have Mark from Grand Rapids, who I put underneath Louie. And then I promoted Mariah to creative director, which took some things off of Derreck's plate. We have all these pieces, right? But you got to understand, there's no field manual to do this. There's not a book that I went to the store and it was like, how to take a postcard marketing app and grow it to $10 million in 12 months. Step one, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So we live in uncertainty. We have massive pressure and deadlines and stuff kind of all the time. I always tell my team, our goal isn't to be perfect. It's to move from chaos towards less chaos. As long as we're continuously progressing towards less chaos, I think we're going to do good. I mean, Derreck, speak a little bit about your history at Send Gym. After you left the cleaning company, we built Automate, Grow, Sell together, and then now we're doing Send Gym, really heavily focused on that. Have we moved from chaos to less chaos? What's your outside view on this whole wild, crazy thing?
I think that we're going to be in a constant state of chaos until we can remove some certain obstacles and barriers, and I think we're really close to that. It's my job to make sure that I drive the tempo and structure this path so that way we can break through those barriers, and then play devil's advocate for you to make sure that I'm looking out for some unforeseen problems with a specific step forward that might put us right back where we were. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely crazy, but I think it's a good chaos. I would be completely bored out of my mind if I didn't have anything to do and did the whole 4-hour work week. I mean,
that's the goal, though, I think at some point.
Yeah, I would love to, I love to travel. And then before Send Gym with my cleaning company, and then I was able to travel quite a bit. But even before that, I don't even know if you know about this, but I worked for a subcontracting company that did the FAA regulatory 911 test calls for AT&T. And they would fly me around in private jets, and I would rent cars and hotels and sometimes fly commercial. But I'd get out, and I was the "Can you hear me now" guy for 2 years.
That's the best job ever.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I just have this problem where I see a value gap or somewhere where I can, monetize, and I just got to get it. And so I ended up starting my own car rental company and renting my own cars, and my project people were renting my cars, and it took a lot of burden off them financially, so everybody loved it. But the boss man did not like that I had this little side company, and he was he was paying me more than what.
Just to be clear, your job, your cool job, would pay for you to rent cars, and you thought, hey, I should just rent them from my own self from this little shell company I'm going to set up and make even more money. Well, that's because you're an entrepreneur.
I was almost to the point where I was going to put the cars in storage units in every major city that I flew to all the time, and then just catch an Uber over to my storage unit.
You are a maniac, Derreck, and that's why I love you. Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams Realty, he's a billionaire. It's the largest real estate company on earth. He said something really cool, and I don't remember the whole thing because it was like a whole discussion, but this has been my focus as the CEO of our company this year, and we're slowly like trying to move towards it. But here's the concept. I want people like Derreck. Derreck's entrepreneurial. Derreck's talented. He could do a lot of things. He has a lot of options. He's really smart. He knows a lot of stuff. So how do you get the highest achievers to work on your team? Well, I like what Gary says, and what he does is he takes everybody in his organization, like all of the executives, all of the branch managers, I don't know how it's set up, and he encourages them to build their own solar system inside of his universe. His universe. So Keller Williams is like the universe, but he lets people pursue opportunity with no ceiling inside of his organization, right? So he's not trying to like hold people back or put a lid on them. He wants highly aggressive, just maniacs that are super driven. And I want to do that with our software company. We have so much opportunity with integrations and all kinds of weird stuff that the public doesn't know about that we're working on the back end. And as I kind of look at it, this is a $100 million business if we do it right. And if we do that right, people like Derreck can buy his Earth Roamer that he wants, which you guys need to Google Earth Roamer. It's a $500,000 amazing vehicle that you can drive anywhere with, and it's this crazy thing. So how do we get a $500,000 bonus distribution check to someone like Derreck? It's actually kind of simple. We keep following the path that we're on. We assemble a good team. We hold each other accountable. We give each other grace when we mess up, but we stay focused on the outcome. We stay focused on serving people. We stay focused on delivering value and creating raving fans. And the same thing's true with your cleaning company. So with your staff, what are you doing to help your team understand that there's not a ceiling, that they can create their own, solar system, their own galaxy inside of the universe of your company? I just think that's powerful, Derreck. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people really love our culture, our employees right now. They're just they're family, honestly. And a lot of that is just because we have the mindset that if they win, we win. And we'll do anything to make sure that they get what they want. And, I'm always talking about their goals and ambitions and relating it to part of something that we're doing and something that they're learning and how that they can use that to get to where they want to go. And so, I think it's super powerful.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. And like I said, we don't have a manual for this. I'm like creating job positions that I can't even define. I don't even know what to call people in our organization right now because this is all unknown, uncharted territory for us. But I'll tell you, what I'm trying to do is model what we're doing after Russell Brunson and a lot of the things they did to build their company. Why? Why am I doing that, do you ask? Because that's smart. Because I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Why did Derreck go into Russell's Inner Circle and watch a 30-minute Facebook ads thing from another Inner Circle member who has 1 million people on their email list and 110,000 customers? Because they know stuff, right? And so, we're just putting these nuggets in our brain, and we're trying to mirror what success looks like in this industry the best that we can. And you need to do the same thing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I talked the last few podcasts about why people get stuck and they get overwhelmed and they're trying to build stage 5 systems when they're in stage 1. And you only need to knock over one domino at a time. And Derreck makes that a lot easier for us. It's still a lot of hard work because he is organized, using a lot of digital tools and communicating with our team every day. But we make mistakes. We miss deadlines. We're missing a deadline right now. Like our super course is going to come out a lot later than I want it to, and that frustrates me because we have a huge goal, right? For us to be on pace, we got to do 200,000 in January, which is like our slowest month of the year, and that's by far the littlest month revenue goal we have for the whole year, and we can't launch a super course, and everybody wants to buy it, and it's not done yet. So it happens. There's speed bumps, but it's okay. You just keep going, right, Derreck?
Right, absolutely. And I have actually simplified this, some do's and don'ts, into 7 major sins. And I've called it the super cool guide of 7 deadly sins in business marketing. Do you think that that would be handy?
Let me check. Hold on. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So sin number 1 is I'm so amazing because people really don't care, and they don't think that you're amazing. They could care less if you're the best of the best or voted best in the industry. And I helped out a gentleman today actually on Facebook who was sent me over some copy and was like, "Hey, let me know what you think." And it was the best of, we're amazing, we're the best of this. But you've been voted the best by some random association you're a part of, but they've maybe never even heard of. Why? So what you do want to do is tell them the benefits of your service and how it can improve their life, and do not rely on that sin to gain new clients. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah,
right.
We all do that. The same thing like with your logo. I always tell people nobody cares about your logo except your mom. That's it.
Well, and that's because they care about themselves and what's
Right.
in it for them.
That's right.
Most people want to know what your product does to help make their life better or make something easier. Is it they want the hole, not the drill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People don't buy a drill; they buy the hole, but they have to have the drill to make the hole. Yes, that's a profound one. I love that one.
Sin number 2: my product is the best because you don't want to do that. Don't rely on that sin to gain new clients. Don't believe this. It's everywhere. Every company says their product is the best of the best in their industry. Now, this is just a product-related one, but focus on the positives of that specific product that you're trying to put in your copy and market. So this could come, for different service businesses, there'd be different things. But you've got your business and then you've got your product and just how you talk about that. So similar sins, but we'll move on to sin number 3. My product is for everyone because focus on discovering the perfect client who truly does need your product. Often, even with Sin Gym, we see people complaining about cards that aren't performing or things like that, and they're mailing the wrong people. They're not targeting
a message, right?
Yeah, most customers don't need everything. Even companies that actually do sell something that everyone uses, like water, have multiple companies. There isn't one monopoly to any certain product, and you're not the exception to this rule, is what I put.
That's really very good.
So, and sin number 4 is my current customers don't matter anymore because.
Ooh. People think that they love their current customers, but let me ask you this: how do your customers know? How do they know? Just because you feel warm and fuzzy in your heart for them doesn't mean they remember your name, that they know that you care about them, that you're staying top of mind. This is a big one.
Absolutely. Yeah, so continue to focus on the current customers, providing very high customer service, even if it's costing you money or you're breaking even in the beginning. It's totally worth it. I actually can relate this personally to one of my cleaning company's jobs. I got the lead through an online service like Angie's List, I believe, and I went to complete the job. It was going to be a $600 job, if I remember right, and I ended up sending him they had 2 dogs. And I had just sent them some dog treats. This was kind of before we got gifts and sequences at Sin Gym. I think it was actually still Street Bitter at the time. And we sent this box of brownie or the dog treats, and they ended up having guests over at their house when the box and the UPS man arrived. And I addressed the box to their dog's name. I ended up getting all their friends as clients. And that one job, even just that one job, turned into $7,000 per year on a regular 3-month schedule. You never know when something is going to really stand out to someone that their last person didn't do, or, and what's going to lock you in from the other guy that might come and try to swoop in and take that customer too. What makes you, makes your company a special experience for your customer, and how are you staying in touch with them? I think often people are just trying to, we sold a job, and just if I don't talk to them, they'll be happy. But actually, it's the opposite of that. The more you talk to them, the more you have a relationship with them, and you can take them through what I call a bridge, a frame bridge, to be able to sell either multiple things that they need, or you get to do more things with that customer when you do have those relationships.
And remember, everybody, that all business is really just it's based on relationships and trust, right? The know, like, and trust factor. And you don't have to have a slick agenda. Just actually care for people, actually build real relationships. Guess what? People like to be loyal. People want to refer you. You don't have to, have an angle every time you send somebody something, but you can't have a relationship with anybody if you're not engaging in the relationship. It's like being married and never talking to your spouse and thinking that you have a relationship. It's also the difference between being a hunter and being a farmer. And I've talked about this in the Gratitude Effect webinar, which you can Google. It's on YouTube. And it's a powerful presentation, but it basically, people are very transactionally minded, meaning they're chasing the dollar. They want to get the check. They want to cash a check. They want to complete the job. So then they can immediately cash it and then go chase another one. And they're like a lion who's hunting gazelles. And once they eat the gazelle, that's it. They got to go hunt another one and another one. And it feels like a vicious cycle. Once you have a base of customers and you build real, authentic, genuine relationships with them, and you remember their dog's name, and you remember their daughter's college that she went to, and you're sending them little gifts through Send Jim or whatever, things will start to really, really blossom. And it's that time when you pivot to being a farmer instead of a hunter. And now you have a farm of like tomato plants, and they keep spitting out new tomatoes over and over and over. Just like Derreck said, all those friends and all those repeat services were a direct result of his effort towards relationship marketing. And it's one of the biggest overlooked things with small companies because they're in survival mode. They're terrified to spend a few bucks. It's the craziest thing in the world to me, but it is a common problem. That's good. Keep going, Derreck.
Yeah, and just to follow up with that story, that customer ended up being good friends with the vice president of Walmart here in Walmart country. So it was really crazy. He owned the collection agency for Walmart. The customer did. It was wild. But anyway, the next sin is I don't need to follow up anymore because, and this kind of relates back to the last one, you want to set up an automated multi-touch drip campaign to stay in touch all year round. People need to have multiple touches before they jump in, add a product or service. And 80% of sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact. That's why we at Send Jim, we truly believe in the multi-touch strategy because people, they won't forget you or your product at the time that they need to know and have that product or service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just works. Just like I said, you model people who have already done what you're trying to do. That's exactly what this is. We're just simply modeling what successful companies have done. And very large, profitable, stable companies have really strong repeat rate, meaning their clients are coming back. And the reason they have that is because they're literally continuously engaging and providing value and checking in on their client.
Yeah, and number 6, I don't need to help them because now be very specific as to what you need or want for the sale to close. Most customers need their hand held throughout the buying or sales process. If you don't provide crystal clear instructions, you risk losing the sale altogether. People like to know what to expect before moving forward. So if you're setting those expectations beforehand with the way you sell your service or the in preparations for your crew to be out there, then they know what to expect, and they don't need the obvious to be pointed out whenever that time has come for them to make a decision.
Yeah, that's actually really good. I just had Ben Surdy on the other day, the crazy carpet cleaning guy with a $3 million business who tried to refinance a Neverland Ranch for Michael Jackson and then went broke and then started cleaning carpet.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so he was talking about the story of Samuel Adams Beer and how they were about to go under, and they hired this marketing company to try to fix their business. And long story short, the marketing execs walked through and said, we have to tell them how you make your beer. That's all we got to do. Like, to differentiate themselves, they just started talking about the process. And if you want to raise your close rate right now, like tomorrow, here's a gold nugget value bomb for you. Super simple. Just change the way that you explain what people are buying from you. For example, when you drop off an estimate and they say they want gutter cleaning, and you give them a price to clean their gutters, that's what most people do. And you could be friendly and have a nice uniform, but we're not going to stop there. What you're going to do is you're going to show them how you make your beer. So when you explain it to them, you're going to go into detail about your process. You're going to say, okay, Mrs. Jones, we have 3 different packages. My recommendation is that you take the silver package. And let me explain why. Here's what's going to happen when we come out to do this service for you. We're going to have a 2-person team. Probably Ben or Joe will be the crew leader. They're the person in charge. Their job is really simple. It's to meet or exceed your expectations and earn an online review from you that's 5 stars. When they get there, they're going to knock on your door and introduce themselves and unload the truck. And when they start doing the gutter cleaning, what we do is we have a 4-point gutter cleaning process that's actually really simple, but it goes beyond what 99% of companies do. Not only do we handbag all the debris and remove it from your property, we actually take that with us and we dispose of it on our end so you don't have to deal with it. We also flush every single downspout just to make sure that we have proper water flow. When we're all done with that, we're going to offer you a walk around and you can check everything out just to make sure that you understand it. Does that make sense, Jan? Or whatever. I don't know if I said Jan when I started my fake script. The point is, like, wasn't that cool? Wasn't that powerful? And I didn't do anything except explain what I'm already going to do. And it creates massive perceived value because almost nobody does that, but anybody could. It's free. Do it. Do it tomorrow. Send me an email when you make more money.
Well, and also it puts the customer in that mindset, in that box of the expectations, and so they're not looking for these obscure things. And when they do, that's something extra that you're providing whenever you do help them out with that other thing that they pointed out. So it's just like, sure, we normally don't, but we can take care of that too, and it's just an extra thing. Or even whenever you do things like taking out the trash or doing something extra while you're there, it's just one step further than what you're going to do. If you don't set those expectations, then now let's just assume that that's just something you do.
Right.
And so that generosity is not there the next time. If your guys don't do it consistently, now that's not a generous thing. That was part of the service that's not here now.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Well, this has been a great, casual conversation. I wanted you guys to kind of meet Derreck. He's actually been on the podcast before, but it's been a long time ago. He kind of sits in the cave and is like pulling levers and pushing buttons all day behind the scenes so that we can hit our ginormous goal this year. But he's super smart. He's a very close friend of mine, and I know that there is value in this interview, whether it's just working on little tasks one at a time or some of the online tools that Derreck uses with our team, which there's actually dozens of them. Maybe if people request, we can have you back on and go deeper on some of those things.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time, Derreck. You are killing it. We're super proud of you and happy that you're with us, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. And for your listeners, I'll send you over that document for them to download in the show notes. So.
Okay, awesome. We'll get that in the show notes, and you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.
Thanks.
God bless.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.